and strong trade histories built our respective position as regional crossroads. The UAE is expanding its global horizons by promoting the capabilities and standards, as well as incentives available to investors, entrepreneurs, and talents around the world. This builds on the past 5 decades in which the UAE has worked very hard to create a competitive, business-friendly economy that is an attractive destination for global trade, a hub for multinational cooperation, an environment that empowers startups and entrepreneurs. It's anchored in a spirit of collaboration and partnership. As we look forward, I'm delighted to visit Indonesia, where our relationship continues to strengthen. Over the past 5 years, the UAE has imported $8.5 billion worth of goods from Indonesia, making the UAE one of the top global destinations for Indonesian exports. Equally, Indonesia is now among the World Economic Forum's 20 most competitive business environments, and its 1.1 trillion GDP reflects the enormous opportunities the country has to offer. In March 2021, the UAE announced plans to invest $10 billion in Indonesia Investment Authority, and our two nations are already collaborating on many projects, including the 140 million agreements to develop the world's biggest floating solar power plants, reflecting a shared vision to invest in projects that can power innovative, sustainable, and knowledge-driven economies. On the top of the direct trade and investments we enjoy together, we see Indonesia as a vital strategic partner at the center of one of the most exciting, fast-growing economies region in the world. In that same respect, we hope Indonesia business leaders view the UAE as a gateway to vibrant, aspirational, rapidly evolved markets of Middle East, Africa, Gate to Africa, and CIS nations. Indonesian investors, entrepreneurs, and business owners have increasingly greater access to the UAE Gulf marketplace. We have revised our regulations to prepare for our future economy, including the 100% foreign ownership laws, efficient business setup procedures, long-term visas for investors, key professionals, and high-achieving students. Equally, the UAE has invested billions of dollars in international standards logistics infrastructure, from warehousing to transport links. These are all key components of the UAE's long-term strategy to facilitate economic exchange with the world, whether as a strategic gateway for goods or services, or a dynamic platform for new ventures. The Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement builds upon our two nations' strong economic relations and lays the foundation for ambitious partnerships that creates new opportunities, attract greater investments and talents to the region, as well as accelerate the global economic recovery. This is mutually beneficial and comprehensive partnership, and we do believe it will achieve our goal of significantly increasing the volume of bilateral trade and investments between the UAE and Indonesia. I'm looking forward for the media questions, and thank you so much for being with us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Bapak Ibu yang saya hormati, teman-teman media, hari ini, today is a historic day for Indonesia and United Arab Emirates, especially for the bilateral relations. I have the pleasure to receive my good friend, UAE Trade Minister, His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmad Al Zayudi, especially flew directly from Dubai to Indonesia to give his precious time to embark in the new stage of relationships between Indonesia and Uni Arab Emirates. This morning, prior to launching the ceremony, Minister Thani and I had a good meeting to reaffirm of our head of state's commitment to bring the two countries even closer together. There are three strategic importance of this CEPA brings to our relationships. The first one is the historical. It is the first negotiations that Indonesia undertake with the countries of the Gulf, and likewise, it is also it's also the first for UAE with its ASEAN trading partners. Post-pandemic recovery, both countries, I think, as two major economies, need to work closer together, as Indonesia and UAE are complementary to each other, and we have to be bold and creative in finding new avenue to power our economy during this challenging time, especially with this COVID-19. collaborative. CEPA is not only about government-to-government relationships, but also beyond. It's business to business and people to people. CEPA will improve trust between the two countries to trade more, invest more, and especially to visit more. Besides officially launch the CEPA negotiations, Minister Tani and I will also attend the dialogue forum this afternoon with the theme Unlocking the Potential and Building Momentum toward Indonesia and UAE Strategic Partnerships. We invited the two chambers of commerce and its members to exchange view on how the two economies can collaborate together. I'm also pleased to learn that there will be a business forum also organized by the Kadin and the Federations of Chambers of Commerce and Industry of UAE, especially to discuss the cooperations in 5 sectors. They are the real estate, agriculture, energy and renewable energy, logistics, and also food security. Tomorrow, Dr. Tani and I will have a courtesy call to President Joko Widodo, whereby we will report the CEPA deliberations and potential cooperations that Indonesia and UAE will build through its CEPA. Finally, the negotiation itself, both Dr. Tani and I agreed that the negotiator should be started swiftly after the launch. This afternoon, the group will meet and negotiate government procurement, halal cooperations, trade and services, legal and institutional issues. So they will tackle the most difficult part. And we both mandated the negotiating team to conclude the CEPA as soon as possible, within 1 year at the latest. And I wish every success to the two teams. Dear friends and media, I don't want to speak too long. My team has made a friendly fact sheets that the press release available for you all, and I count on your support to disseminate the informations of today's event for the public awareness. I would like to thank Minister, and I would also to thank all the delegations, and hopefully this will be a new start for Indonesia and UAE for the future generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellencies. Now we begin with the Q&A sessions that we have received chats from the chat box from the media. The questions are going to be addressed to both ministers. Allow me to read out the questions, and these questions have been received by the committee as well. Some questions are being submitted in Indonesian, so let me translate it, and also for Pak Lutfi, I will give to you the questions in Indonesian, both with English as well. All right, let me begin with the first question. Now, this question is addressed to Minister Lutfi. This one is from Jakarta Post, from Norman, from Jakarta Post. The question is, in Indonesian language, Pak, first. Pendekatan hubungan ekonomi Indonesia dan UAE bergerak lumayan cepat. Dari mana muncul ide membuat CEPA ini? Siapa yang menginisiasikan? If you allow me to translate it in English, this Indonesia-UAE CEPA, the progress of the establishment is moving very quickly. Can you please share with us how both countries come to the decision and who initiate the initiative?
Okay. If you don't mind, Minister, let me answer. This is from Jakarta Post. Norman, my answer will be, this is an initiative that started, if I'm not mistaken, in April, Minister, with a simple phone calls, with the realizations that Indonesia's economy and UAE's economy are complementary to each other. Indonesia is looking for a partner that can become a window, not only to the Gulf countries, but also beyond, such as Africa and also the rest of the world. UAE, being a country that is very progressive, is having a very comprehensive relationships with most countries in the Gulf countries and as well as Africa, along with a sophisticated financial networking that is very beneficial for Indonesia. So Minister and I have already agreed that this not only to complement each other's economy, but also to go beyond UAE and beyond Indonesia. I thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Excellency. I want to add and concur what you just said. We want to ensure that there is a new regional agreements to ensure that we're bringing an added value to this part of the world and our part of the world through this engagement. And we couldn't see a more stronger partner than Indonesia to start with, and that's why we're taking this forward. You all saw the pandemic and how it disturbed the supply chain, the commodities, services, movements around the world. And we want to ensure that we are becoming more resilient for any futuristic pandemic and or crisis coming our way. At the same time, looking at the GDPs of both nations, we want to go as well beyond the commodities and service trade. We want to ensure that there is an R&Ds coming along with IBs, the innovations, the productivities is coming to our own economies. And through the CEPA, we're going to ensure that all those aspects are tackled so we can really bring an added value to our economies. Looking at what has been achieved, what has been invested so far, we want to go beyond the conventional oil and gas, infrastructure investments, and business-to-business discussion. We want to see how we can engage in biosectors, e-commerce, digitalizations, space sectors, et cetera. So I really hope and I'm optimistic that this CEPA is going to take us to those ambitious plans. The current trade volume is around less than 3 billion. We hope that if the CEPA not going to double the trade volume, our ambitions is to go at least 5 to 10 folds from the current situation. So we'll push very hard. So the minimum is going to double the trade volume, but the ambition is to go to 5 to 10 folds from the current situation. Thank you.
Thank
Minister,
you very much.
if I may, just foreign relations, since it was a very simple questions, but this is important for Indonesia, like I mentioned to you about this gold and jewelry export. I mentioned to Minister this morning during our conversations with with the teams as well. Indonesia sold, Norman, about $8.2 billion in terms of gold and jewelry in 2020. 37% went to Singapore out of our $8.2 billion. I'm pretty sure 5 million of Singaporeans are not buying our jewelry for their own consumptions, but instead Singaporeans actually have some kind of a trade agreement with the Gulf countries, which make to sell from Singapore about 5% cheaper than it is from Indonesia. From that point on, I am asking Dr. Tani with the same conversations, simple conversations from the directions of our leaders, that we should sit together, cut the middlemen, and we would like to trade straight with the UAEs. And this is probably one of the basic fundamentals of why we want to do this trade deal together. Thank you, Rahman.
Thank you very much for both His Excellencies for answering and also sharing the insights during the conversation earlier today. And let's proceed to the next question. This one is directed to Dr. Tani, still from Jakarta Post, from Norman. Considering a number of UAEs plan to invest in Indonesia, what specific areas of investment will be prioritized under the negotiation of Indonesia-UAE CEPA?
Thank you. This is a very interesting question. The current investments from the UAE and Indonesia in total value of the various agreements bypass the $30 billion so far, and the latest 10 billion announcements to support and to work with the newly established Indonesian Investment Authority is going to boost this FDI flow toward Indonesia. Our main priority is to support the advanced infrastructure that you guys are planning to invest in. So this is going to be for sure opening many doors for our investments. But speaking about the challenges which we're seeing facing the world in the upcoming few years and what the whole world is facing right now, biotechnology and biosector is very crucial. And the medical sector is something which we're exploring, and there's so many discussion is having right away between our investors, partners, and the counterparts here in Indonesia. Earlier this morning as well with His Excellency the Minister, we were talking about some of the experience, how we managed to contain the pandemic within the UAE, and something which we'll be more than happy to share and to work closely with the relevant authorities here in the UAE. Moving to, beyond that, advanced science is something which is absolutely is going to be a game changer. And just a few months ago, we announced our $300 billion industrial investments, and we don't see a more valuable partner than Indonesia to work together on our industrial and advanced technology strategy. So there's so many sectors, the potential is very huge, and that's why we want to make sure that CEPA is providing the right platform and the right window for this direct networking engagements and opening doors for both potential investors.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, for the answer. Hopefully that also answers the question coming from Jakarta Post. Now we move on to the next question. This is coming from Omen, from Rakyat Merdeka. This question is addressed for both of ministers. Let me read out the question first. Considering the pandemic, what are the challenges that will be faced by both countries in completing the negotiations?
Thank you very much. Minister, I would like to warn you as well. The last time we signed a complex CEPA with Korea, how long did it take, Mr. Director General? 11 years, isn't it? 11 years. And then with Australia, how long was it, Sinta? Almost the same, 11 years. So, Oman, this is a promise from Dr. Tani and myself. We will finish this in 1 year. And we will tell our negotiator, we have to finish this in 1 year.
I'll go more aggressive. We'll do it in 6 months, inshallah.
Thank you.
Inshallah.
Within 1 year. Thank you, Rama.
All right, thank you very much. Hopefully we can always keep to that promise in the future. Let's move on to the next question. This one is from Dedi Darmawan from Republika. The first question is addressed to Minister Lutfi. Pak Lutfi, bagaimana Indonesia-UAE CEPA akan meningkatkan ekspor Indonesia ke UAE dan komoditas apa saja yang menjadi unggulan? Allow me to read it out in English. How Indonesia-UAE CEPA will increase Indonesia's export to UAE, and what are the targeted and selected products to be exported to UAE?
Terima kasih, Dedi. Jadi seperti saya utarakan tadi bahwa ada beberapa item karena Indonesia sekarang sedang berevolusi dari negara penjual barang mentah dan barang setengah jadi menjadi negara penjual barang industri dan industri berteknologi tinggi. Jadi saya bisa melihat ada beberapa item yang sangat penting. Contohnya tadi perhiasan dan perhiasan emas yang saya utarakan, HS82 kalau tidak salah saya. Kemudian kita juga ingin menjual basic metal kita seperti stainless steel, dan juga meskipun UAE penjual alumina, kita ingin bekerja bersama-sama untuk bagaimana berkolaborasi untuk aluminium dan alumina. Dan yang terpenting dari semuanya juga, kita kepingin bahwa pasar UAE, pasar-pasar Afrika melalui UAE juga bisa menikmati industri otomotif kita. Sekarang sudah kita lihat adanya tanda-tanda otomotif kita bisa masuk ke UAE, tetapi harapan kami di masa yang akan datang, otomotif atau mobil kita akan juga merajai pasar UAE. Your Excellency, I was explaining to Republika, this is an Islamic newspaper in the country, that what kind of things that is very important for us, for Indonesia to sign in order to penetrate even more the market in Uni Arab Emirates. So one of the few things that I mentioned was also the jewelry and gold. The second one is we would like to have a collaborations because Indonesia will be the major manufacturer of aluminium and alumina as well. And then the third part is we would like to contribute also if we can penetrate the market of automotive in UAE and its surrounding countries along with the penetration from UAE to African countries.
Sure.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Would you like to add, Dr. Tani?
Yeah, I want to add a few things as well. Looking at what we import now from Indonesia, we're talking about the precious metals. For sure, the gold is one of the key commodity on this various products. Automobile cars are playing a major role and big percentage of the overall. Palm oil is very attractive, and we're becoming a destination for the Indonesian palm oil, and for sure the fabric and the some of the papers. So I see, I want to add to what His Excellency just mentioned, and we want to tackle as well the food security, various products, because our region in general needs a lot of food security products to ensure the sustainable supply of agriculture, fruits, vegetables to the region. The other commodities or products which we talked about is the steel. We're expecting a boom in our regions, especially the Africa, so we can collaborate on that topic heavily as well. The potential is very massive. We're exporting and importing most of the stuff from the whole world. Through the CEPA and through many other agreements, we're planning to be connected to the almost 90% of the global trade. So anything could be traded with is going to be welcome through the UAE. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. All right, now we still have a question from the same person, Dedi Republika. The question is, this is directed to both ministers. How do you see the potential for halal products between Indonesia and UAE?
Okay. Minister, please.
It's one of the topics which was raised yesterday and today throughout the official meetings. And we've been analyzing the Islamic economy in Indonesia throughout the last 2 months while studying the whole market thoroughly. What amazed us is the huge jump in the last 5 years which Indonesia did in the Islamic finance, jumping from almost ranked in 9 globally to the 4th now, which means that there really serious steps has been taken in the Islamic economy here in Indonesia. The UAE has been ranked the 2nd globally for the last 5 years, and still we haven't reached the full capacity of the sector. If we're talking about the halal products in the agriculture and the medical sector, the Sharia financial system, the Islamic fashion sector, there's so many things to be together on this sector, and we start seeing the results of our efforts in the sector during the pandemic, because the consumption in certain sector has been increased dramatically, especially in the fashion sector. We were talking about this, and His Excellency told us about the fashion show, fashion exhibition, which is going to the Islamic fashion exhibition, which is going to happen here in October. We're going to ensure that there is a huge participation from our sector here. The global expectations of the Islamic economy is about to reach $2.4–2.5 trillion in 2–3 years from now, which means that there is a huge potential to collaborate not only in the investments and trade aspects, but also in creating jobs in this niche topic.
Thank you. So, jadi saya ingatkan lagi bahwa pasar daripada Islamic halal ini sangat besar. Kita ini kalau kita lihat ada 57 negara dari 58 negara yang sudah terdaftar di organisasi Islam. 1,8 miliar orang, 53% itu adalah orang muda. Jadi ini merupakan pasar yang luar biasa. Kita sudah membicarakan dengan Dr. Tani bahwa ini adalah sesuatu subjek yang kita akan kerjakan, kita akan dalami, tetapi juga makanan minuman halal ini ditambah juga dengan fashion, Islamic fashion industry. Nah, saya sudah utarakan kepada Menteri Tani bahwa pada bulan Oktober ini kita akan ada namanya Trade Expo Indonesia. Trade Expo Indonesia ini akan ada satelit acaranya. Kita akan bikin show mungkin 3 hari, yaitu Islamic Jakarta Islamic Fashion Week. Nah, ini kita akan kerjakan dan saya minta tolong sama Dr. Tani untuk sama-sama bagaimana kita bisa mempenetrasi. Beliau mengatakan kepada saya bahwa ramainya pasar-pasar fashion Islam ini yang ada di Afrika. Seperti kita ketahui dengan diplomasi Arab Emirates terutama ke Afrika dengan Emirates Airlines-nya itu dan Etihad itu mempenetrasi pasar Afrika yang luar biasa. Oleh sebab itu kita mesti melihat UAE bukan hanya sebagai sahabat sejati kita, tetapi juga sebagai pintu untuk untraditional market kita. Dr. Tani, I was explaining to Dedi that the Islamic countries organizations, we have 57 members out of 58 because one is not being recognized, that is Palestine obviously, but they have 1.8 billion citizens. 53% are younger generation. So this is a big market for the halal industry for us to take care. And the second part is our conversations about the Jakarta Islamic Fashion Week that will take in place in October. We would like to do that as a start. So people can go to Paris for fashion, but people needs to go to Jakarta for Islamic fashion. And on top of that, I said that we should see, and this is something that you and I agreed, that UAE not just a true friends of Indonesia, but UAE also as a window to see marketing of Indonesian goods toward countries like untraditional, most countries in Africa. That's what I'm explaining. Thank you, Rahman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lutfi and Dr. Tani, for the answers. And looking at inside the chat box, there are still some questions to be answered. This one is coming from Erwida from Nikkei. The question is addressed to Dr. Tani. Is there a plan from the UAE to increase its $10 billion commitment to Indonesia's sovereign wealth fund? How much and what sectors will be the focus?
Dr. Tani, Nikkei is the largest Japanese newspaper. So they want to compare how much Japanese will put in the sovereign wealth fund. So just a head start.
As I said during my first remark, based on the existing agreements and various MOUs between us and Indonesia, the total value of intended investments exceeds $30 billion. With the $10 billion which has been announced this year, we're just continuing the interest in the Indonesian market. Do we have now a number to be announced? I prefer that to be kept to the visit of His Majesty the President of the UAE later this November, because there will be so many announcements and agreements to be announced and signed during his presidential visits to the UAE and to Expo in particular. What are the sectors? There are so many sectors. As I said, advanced infrastructure are always attractive. We're exploring fourth industrial revolutions. Tourism is very attractive as well, sector for us, and for sure the industry sectors. So more to come during the president visits to the UAE, inshallah, to be announced. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now move on to the next question. This one is also addressed to both ministers. From Echo Bloomberg, the question is there any target on when the CEPA will be signed, and any target on how high Indonesia and UAE's bilateral trade value investment can grow after CEPA is signed?
Let me answer that first, Dr. Tani. So this is the threshold. The President and the Highness Crown Prince will meet in Dubai to open the Indonesian Day and Indonesian Pavilion, and to visit the Indonesian Pavilion on November 4th. I hope the target is we are going to finish or substantially finish the most important part by November 4th. Hopefully, if we are aggressive, and if we can have all the things that I have mentioned to our negotiating teams, we will be finished by then, or we can see the end of the signatories of the agreements by November 4th. How much? This is what Dr. Tani and I are mentioning. If we say 5, time, fivefold from today, which is $3 billion, we know that we will get a very hard call from our leaders. So we have to put anything above fivefold after the signature, after the signing of the agreement. I hope you agree, Dr. Tani.
I totally agree. You know, the normal rate is going to be doubling the current trade volume, but this will not be accepted by our leaders because of this close and strategic relations between the nations. We're going to go beyond the fivefolds. But what we want to make sure that the CEPA has to be as flexible as well as supportive to those investments and trade exchange between both nations.
Thank you very much for the answers. I'm sure there are many questions still in the chat box, but due to limited time, we have to end this joint press conference. So to the members of media and ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your insightful questions in this press conference and for your support of the launching negotiation of Indonesia-United Arab Emirates CEPA. Let us all look forward to many exciting initiatives and successful collaborations emerging from this CEPA. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next event awaits, which is the Dialogue Forum on IUAE CEPA. So let me invite you all to virtually join the Dialogue Forum to hear further on more perspectives from the high eminent panelists, including both ministers and chairmen of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry from both nations. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.